Chelsea's Brazilian wonderkid Estevao Willian tells all. He tells us why he's joined Chelsea, takes shots at Liverpool and Alisson. He explains his desires at where he wants to achieve in his career, and more importantly, tells us the full story behind him and Cole Palmer and why he wants to be a winger and not number 10. Because everybody has been making up stories trying to create drama, and like I told you before, don't listen to them. Come to the Kavkas View, I'll explain everything for you. Furthermore, we need to talk about Andrey Santos' comments about how he's going to make it at Chelsea and why it's imperative to be at Strasbourg. Renato Viega and Pedro Neto absolutely perform to a very high standard, and I need to give the praise to the directors because Renato Viega was on nobody's list. 11 million all of a sudden looks like a 25 million pound player. And finally, Mike Penders. Who is he? Well, I'm going to tell you who he is, and Chelsea jumped in front of the queue, got the deal wrapped up, and Fabrizio says they've been happy ever since then. So let's get into it. When you walk into the Kavkas View, what do? You open the door. I say me casas, su casas, but the first thing you have to do is hit that like button because you're going to like my house. Furthermore, subscribe to the channel. We have officially hit 37,000. Thank you very much for everyone that watches. We're aiming for 40,000 by the end of the year. So if you do that now, I'll greatly appreciate it. We'll build a great community. Let's move on with the story. So for those of you that don't know, Chelsea spent an awful lot of money on Estevao Willian. Estevao Willian is a 17-year-old. They signed him when he was 16 years old, and ever since then, he's been absolutely balling in Serie A, in Brazil, not in Italy, and more importantly, his team is in second place with a very good chance to win the league title, and he's been producing not only in performances, but in terms of numbers, assists and goals. And in a league where older players tend to take all the limelight, a youngster has broken out and has made that league his own. He is the face of the league based on his performances this year. Everything you hear about Brazilian Serie A, Estevao is in front of it. But he's been talking about on a podcast why he chose Chelsea, and this was a lovely idea. You know, I was listening to it, the insight, it was absolutely beautiful to hear. So he was explaining how his idols growing up were Messi and Neymar. He looked at Messi, he looked at Neymar, he loved Barcelona. However, when Chelsea came in, the offer was too good to refuse. The plan that they had for him, and not the only in terms of development, they also had the plan in terms of the full-fledged project. I don't know what these lot keep telling these kids, but these kids are signing for Chelsea because they want to be part of this project. But also, he gave us insight. He said they had a plan for his parents, how his parents would adapt, what would happen to his parents, where his parents would go. I remember reading a couple of months back, right, when David Washington was moving to Chelsea, what ended up happening was when him and his family came to England to have the meeting, Thiago Silva showed them around, not only Stamford Bridge and Cobham, but apparently took them to the church that they would attend. A Brazilian, I think they found out his religion, they took him to the church, and it was similar to Thiago Silva's, so it gave him that whole home league community feel. And for me, steps like this are the reason why players will want to join the club. Because evidently, I ain't only looking after you. I'm not only giving you money. I'm also making sure that everything at home for you is fine. And this is wonderful to hear from the club. And he openly said he can't wait to pay back the club for all the trust they're putting in him. Estevao also gave us very good insight on when he joined Chelsea, why he straight away did that celebration. He said when he scored, the first thing he wanted to do was imitate the best player that Chelsea currently have, and that's Cole Palmer. He wanted to do this celebration, and what he did straight after was put the picture on Instagram and tag Cole Palmer in. Him and Cole Palmer went head to head and said, you know what, you're a great player, I'm a great player, and they gave praise to each other. You know, they absolutely passed the torch in a figurative space where, look, welcome to the club, this is my team at the moment, but I can't wait to work with you moment. And what was beautiful to hear was Palmer apparently reached out to him. He said we're going to achieve great things together at Chelsea, and this is the stuff I want to hear, because Estevao went on to say the current players are amazing, but he really remembers the old players. He remembers Willian. And you know, for us, Willian's tenure at Chelsea had peaks and troughs, right? He was good, he was bad, he was frustrating. However, for Brazilians, he is living proof that you leave Brazil and come to Europe, you could become very successful at the highest level of all. And Chelsea Football Club is one of the highest level. He also spoke about Eden Hazard, obviously, and he spoke about Thiago Silva and how players like that he's always looked up to. So the fact that they played at this club, it makes it even more appealing. But the imperative thing is we need to give him players at the moment that are playing here to want to stick around in the future and earn his spot. So it's very nice to hear that Cole Palmer went out of his way and put extra effort to make this guy feel more welcome. What's really nice to hear is not only did Chelsea think about the project of bringing him across, this kid is Estevao is putting in additional work. He's already got English classes. He's studying the language to make sure when he comes over, the transition is nice. He can speak English as well as his native Portuguese. It'll be brilliant. Furthermore, he's got a physio and he's got a coach. He's got a physical coach that will look after him in terms of stocking up and at the same time make sure that his muscles are right in every single way. Wonderful. I think most players do that. He'll also be put into adaptation scenarios. I don't know what that means, but from what my understanding and reading between the lines, he's making minor changes now, so when he moves across, these minor changes aren't too overwhelming. He said he's going to visit Chelsea in December. We've already seen something like this with Kendry Price, where he came over, trained with the team, trained with Mauricio Pochettino and the squad. Now that he's gone, hey, there's going to be a new reintegration, but I think it'll be very nice to see Kendry and Estevao both come across, train with the team, understand the surroundings, so they're not super overwhelmed when they join in June. And finally, the biggest one of all, he said he's been studying the games, and I think this is so important. He said he's been watching the games, he's been making sure he looks over the tapes, he's been trying to understand how he would fit in, and overall, he wants to adapt as quick as possible. This is music to my ears. This is somebody that takes their career really seriously, and it's wonderful to hear. And another way I know this guy's got like a great attitude is he was talking about a story, and he gave us a story about how when him and Alisson were at the Brazil camp, and he said in training, he was popping goals past Alisson. In the beginning, he was running and taking shots and he was smashing them really hard, and Alisson was getting really frustrated. Alisson apparently told him, listen, I'm not warmed up yet, ease off. And he said, look, I wasn't doing it in jest. I just like to be very accurate. And next year, I want to be scoring against him in the Premier League. And for me, this is a little bit of cockiness, a little bit of arrogance that I really like. I want this kid to be super hungry. He also really reiterated his desires and dreams. And I think dreams of this magnitude are very important to have, especially if you're putting in the work. He was saying how he wants to win the Premier League, he wants to win the Champions League, and he also wants to win the World Cup. But his biggest dream of all is to be the best player in the world. This is the type of player that can say stuff like this. What we're seeing from him is Neymar type numbers in Santos. What we don't need though is for him to come and for us to put unrealistic expectations on this kid's shoulders, because that could be really damaging in the long term. However, I want him to believe, he's going to come in, compete from the outset, and then whether it's Noni or whether it's Neto in front of him, he needs to displace him. When he gets opportunities, he needs to play well, and he needs to make sure that he's getting eased in, drip-fed into this team. Not coming in as a starter where we need him to slap straight away. Look, there is more than enough game. Next year, we're not going to be in the Conference League. Hopefully, we're in the Champions League. Meaning, the players that are playing in the Conference League now, they're still going to be around and they're still going to want to play in the Champions League. So the competition will be fierce. And I can't wait to see how he fits in. What I also really liked is there was this whole myth and this posture that, okay, Estevao's agents want him to play number 10. Estevao's agents are demanding he plays number 10. Listen, I've told you guys before, this is nonsense. No 16-year-old will have the capacity, nor the drive, nor the pull to tell Chelsea, I'm going to play in this position. No, you'll play where you're told. Especially when we signed you as a right winger. Now, it looks like he's really confirmed that. He said, look, Kendry Price, I can't wait to play with him. We're different. He's a 10. He plays in the centre midfield. He'll play in that 10 role. He'll play in the 8 role. Me, on the other hand, I'm a winger. I'm a natural winger, and I can't wait to link up with him, link up with all my teammates, and achieve great things. This guy is saying everything that you want to hear. Very well media trained. I assume he got these questions in advance because it sounds very well rehearsed and very well answered. Honestly, music to my ears, but look, he's got a great team around him, and I hope he stays humble. Speaking of prospects, before we get into Renato Viega and Neto's aspects in Poland yesterday, we need to talk about Mike Penders. Mike Penders is a goalkeeper that Chelsea signed. I think he's 19 years old. He's playing at Genk, so they got him from the same club Chelsea got Thibaut Courtois from. And Chelsea are very happy with his development so far. This guy's been absolutely balling out. Apparently, he's been putting up great saves. The clips I see of him, his passing range looks very good. And in modern day football, you need that. This gives me a little bit of hope that maybe he comes back next year and maybe he goes on one more loan, and then the year after he comes in and takes over from Sanchez or Jurgensen, unless Jurgensen steps up and becomes absolutely undisputed #1. This is important. Fabrizio said multiple clubs were lingering around him. Chelsea pounced quickly, secured the deal, and the reason they did that was because Bayern Munich was eagerly anticipating to find him as the replacement for Manuel Neuer. Music to my ears, Chelsea being proactive. It's exactly how I like it. When it comes to Andrey Santos, now this is a player that I really like. There's a lot of hype around Estevao, there's a lot of hype around Kendry, there's a lot of hype around Mike Penders, there's a lot of hype around Alsamino. For me, Andrey Santos is Chelsea's best prospect. This is how highly I rate this kid. This kid joined Chelsea after I think it was the Under-20 World Cup, and has looked very good. Under Mauricio Pochettino in pre-season, I thought he looked very competent, very tidy, very good on the ball. Then he looked okay under Enzo Maresca, if I'm not mistaken. I think he got a few minutes here and there. For me, he should have stayed at Chelsea this year, but I understand why he went away. And this is what he's saying. He said, look, coming from the Brazilian Serie A, it was really unrealistic to want to play at Chelsea at the club of this level. However, being in Ligue 1 enables me and at Strasbourg to perform at a top European league consistently and show the world what I can do, and it'll put me in good stead to come back to Chelsea and play. He gets it. He absolutely gets it, and I love it. This kid wasted 6 months of his career going to Nottingham Forest. Chelsea wanted him to go to Strasbourg. His representatives wanted him to stay in the Premier League. They listened to his representatives. He wasted 6 months. Came back, went straight on loan to Strasbourg, balled out, and now this year he's putting up levels of performances that is better than João Neves, who cost 60 million. The Ligue 1 Player of the Month for September, if I'm not mistaken. He's been absolutely balling in October. Strasbourg is in a very good place in that league, and they could be competing for a Conference League or even a Europa League spot this year, the way they go. What is so nice to see is this guy's got accountability, and for me, this is Enzo Fernandez's competition and cover for next year. Romeo Lavia, Moises Caicedo, Enzo, and Kendry Pies, and Andrey Santos. We are going to be cooking with oil. This will be the squad. I am very excited to see what happens. Genuinely great news. So the Chelsea boys were very busy playing for Portugal yesterday, and they won. And they won 3-1. However, Pedro Neto played okay, nothing special, couple shots from far away, carried the ball well. You know, an average Pedro Neto performance, a good 7 out of 10. Like, didn't score, didn't assist, but overall looked threatening. His pace is just electric. Him and Leao on the wings. Portugal have got something good going on. So for Chelsea's aspect, Pedro Neto didn't get injured. Wonderful, getting back to the club. The one we need to talk about is the gem that the directors found. We don't give these directors enough praise. I don't believe we do. And the reason I say this is because Renato Viega was on nobody's list. Nobody knew about him. We got linked with him. I said, who on earth is he? However, they've earned the credit for me to now look at the players that they signed. Let me analyze them. Let's see what they do for us. Then we'll judge. And guess what? £11 million player, played against Bournemouth in the midfield for Chelsea, and guess what? He looked good. Left back performances, looked good. Posing a threat from set pieces and defensively, looks good. Now starting for Portugal at left centre back next to Ruben Diaz, very good. This is a player that's comfortable in possession. I'm very excited to see how he develops, and this is how you build your squad. If you're going to build by youngsters, and you're going to build players that are multifaceted in different positions, this is the target price between 11 to 15 million that I want to shop at, and bring him in, let them cook. And he's cooking at the moment, because all of a sudden, he's worth 25 million easily. If we try sell Renato Viega next summer, based on what has happened now, caps for Portugal, starting for Portugal, starting in the Premier League 1 and 2 games, he's going to be going up against Liverpool for Chelsea. We're going to see a lot more about him. He's going to deliver us good money in the future. This is the type of squad depth that I want. So this was the Kavkas View. I hope you lot enjoyed this video. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you want more Kavkas View. Guys, I've got here the Mudryk one. Mudryk sends a shot at me. Yes, he absolutely fired a shot at me. I'm annoyed. I can't lie to you. Why did you have to turn up against us? Go check it out. I'll let you know what he did.